to make sense. It's where you begin to see how others have walked the same uncertainty that we are walking now and how they made it work. It helps us to understand as graduates and students, not just what kind of professionals we want to be, but what kind of people we want to become. And for the last two sessions, and in this particular session, we've been and will be hearing from architects and professionals who have followed both the conventional and the unconventional routes. Some stayed in traditional practice and built remarkable careers. Others moved into development, sustainability consultancy, digital design, and even policy. Today we have three speakers who will be addressing us. Ajit Patrick Karugo, who is CPD Director at Borax and a Principal Architect at Interarchitect, who will be speaking to us a lot from the industry side, from the regulations and registration side. We also have Architect Wendy Nelima, who is a real estate specialist at Palm Goldings Properties, who shall speak to us from the urban side and the real estate side, and basically how to cross-transfer skills within like British school. Then we also have Architect Linda Mate, who is a founder and director at Granex Group, and who has also worked with Zima Homes and GGL, I believe that's Granex. And we are looking forward to learning from their journey. And as we hear these stories, each story is a reminder that there's more than one way to succeed. And that success is not about titles alone. It's also about impact. So to every graduate student here this afternoon, this is your space. Come with curiosity, come with humility, come ready to ask the bold questions about career direction, about pay, about opportunity, but also about identity and purpose, because there's no single formula for success. What matters the most is competence, creativity, and your contribution. Remember, architecture is bigger than buildings. Our country needs people who can apply architectural thinking in every corner of society, in planning, in research, in data, in environment, in construction, in technology, and even in community design. We don't just need architects of buildings, we need architects of systems, architects of sustainability, and also architects of change. So as we go on with this mentorship journey, I hope we leave you with at least two things. One, for the students and graduates, clarity about where our strengths and passions lie. But two, courage to follow the path that fits who we are, whether it's the traditional practice route or something more unconventional. Because in the end, what matters most isn't the title, but the excellence, the integrity, and the empathy we bring into our work. So on behalf of the Association of Architects, the Architectural Association of Kenya, and on behalf of the Architects chapter specifically, I officially welcome you all to the third episode of our AAK students and graduates mentorship session and town hall meeting. Thank you for being part of this community of learners, thinkers, and doers from the beginning and up to now. And so now, I wish for us to get into our first session. And I just wish to confirm if Architect Patrick Karugo is in and able to take the first session. If you are, just probably unmute. Confirm. If not the case, and he was caught up in a different meeting, hoping to get in. Okay, so that being the case, I would wish to welcome our first speaker for this afternoon, Architect Wendy Nelima, real estate specialist at Palm Goldings Properties. Welcome. You have the next half an hour to speak to us. For all those who are joining, please send in your question and your queries. We shall have a Q&A session at the end of the third speaking engagement. Welcome, Architect Wendy Nelima.
Thank you, Brian, for the excellent introduction. I would like to thank every student that's in this forum for wanting to know more about the conventional and the unconventional path. And of course, AAK for creating such a platform Some of us didn't have the opportunity to have such a platform. We had to discover our path um, through difficult life journeys. So if you're a student already practicing architect, this is almost a window for you to look in through people who have crossed that path, right? So maybe I will just begin how I got into architecture. I wanted to turn my imagination into something that could create a sense of emotion, whether it's something that you could feel, something that you could touch, or something that you could walk into. And architecture allows you to merge the artistic component, which most of us do, with the technical aspect in creating something that is meaningful in today's built environment. So that was what led me into getting into architecture. But it's something that we ask as designers every day. How are we really shaping the built environment as architects? Are we just designers, or are we trying to understand the value behind design? Because when you understand the value behind design, you're able to get paid, you're able to create impact, which at the end of the day, that is what I believe every aspiring architect or um, somebody who has gone through the professional route would like to do. So, a brief introduction of the journey. I did 6 years of architecture school in University of Nairobi, like most of the architects. With that, in my final year, I was asked to present my final project, a final year project. And while I was pinning down my work, somebody um, put in a note and said, "We love your presentation. Would you be interested in working outside the country?" Now, I would say at the time, jobs were really difficult to come by in Kenya, that is. And I think at the time, we were the biggest number of graduates that the university had let out into the profession. I'm sure now you're even more. So one of my mentors encouraged me and said, you are not restricted to practicing in Kenya. Why don't you think about, outside the country, other countries in Africa, because the problems that we solve as architects are worldwide. And our training in Kenya is so good that you're able to acclimatize in different parts of the country and offer your expertise. So when that opportunity came for me to be requested to travel outside the country, I jumped for the idea. Of course, I was afraid because I was in my early 20s. I knew nobody in that country. I was basically traveling on my own and creating an, a new path for myself. So the practice of architecture. So I took up the job to study in South Africa for an international company for about 5 years. That involved a myriad of projects, small ones and big ones. Small, I would say, your typical residential project, somebody's looking to design a home, to the bigger, more complex projects where you're designing a hospital, you're designing schools that influence different stakeholders in government, you're designing parliamentary assemblies. So you start to realize as an architect how broad and how impactful your training is. So all these stakeholders were coming to us with requesting for solutions. How do we improve certain infrastructure? For example, if it's schools and you're trying to ensure that a certain county is not lacking in infrastructure compared to the ones who are more privileged. As an architect, our training we are trained to see the micro and the macro. So we are able to see the city in a larger scale, and we are also able to zone in into the particular issues. That is your advantage as an architect, whichever path that you choose to go to. So once I took on this role, it was a lot of coordinating between consultants, working with public and private partnerships, ensuring that the projects that you undertake are financially viable and not just beautiful buildings. So the beautiful projects that we would do in school, I had to make them work. That's what you realize in practice. And sometimes it can be boring. You can be designing something that you're not so passionate about because it it has to work. You're dealing with engineers and other consultants who have to make sure the building works, and it might not be your the fancy designs that we do in school. So you quickly learn that it's tough, but the routine and the consistency and never giving up gives you an edge. Because once you do a smaller project and you grow into bigger projects, you become more competent and more aware of what you're capable as an architect. After 8 years, I decided that I wanted to influence the world of architecture beyond drawings. So I wanted to create value where I'm part of the strategic decisions that are being undertaken in boardrooms. So before any project comes to your table as an architect and you start designing, there's a strategic team that has sat together and they've realized that you want to undertake this big project. And that is why I wanted to be in that team. I love being a designer, but I wanted to be part of the influence as to what project is being undertaken and building the team thereafter. So I decided to get an MBA after that to understand the business of architecture, because the business of architecture is very different from, you know, the sort of like happy-go-lucky type where you can just design, and you're now dealing with clients who have certain expectations, and you have to understand how um, you also want to make money. At the same time, you have to meet your clients' expectations. And how do you handle that dichotomy so that you're able to align to both matters? So once I was done with my MBA, I was able to get into strategy. So I was in strategic meetings, sitting with developers and other like-minded business people who are now running their own businesses, nothing to do with architecture. Some were in mining, some were lawyers, some were in finance. But you realize what ties back into the world of architecture is that we are generally problem solvers. So any project we would undertake as a team, despite being in different arenas, we are able to think deep and resolve those problems based on our training. That marked the shift towards being a real estate specialist, because I realized that I can add value through business creativity and ensuring that whatever is being put up is actually viable. When you broaden your path into real estate, it doesn't mean that you're abandoning your architecture, what you studied for 6 years, and you've probably practiced for even longer. The jump will seem scary. You will get a lot of no's. You will get, why are you throwing away all your training? But you have to understand you are evolving. You are just understanding your value better as an architect, and this will set you apart from being multifaceted. I think it's important to look into a book by, I think, Sarah Rose, which is A Squiggly Career, is to say that right now we're in an age of AI, and our careers are no longer linear. They are, they can go straight, they can go depending on what you want. So it helps you as an architect realize that it's not overwhelming to take a different path. So thereafter, I decided to come back home from after working for a long time in South Africa. Part of me coming back to Kenya was to be able to be on a platform like this today, to be able to show you that there's impact that you're capable of doing or being part of by expanding your path as an architect. So the strategic mindset of my MBA allowed me to be confident in terms of negotiations. It allowed me to have passion for working with people because essentially, as architects, we are on site every day. We are working with contractors, we are dealing with suppliers. We are literally client facing on a daily basis. That's when I transitioned to work with Pam Golding Properties as a real estate specialist in Kilimani. So in that arena, you're looking at creating value for a client, and that is determining the what, when, and the how. How can you ensure that what you're designing is sellable? Will people buy whatever product you're putting out there? Or are you able to assist your client from this building that has been designed to make a return on their investment? Because if the space doesn't work and if you don't understand how to price it correctly, the client ends up losing at the end of the day because they are stuck with a project that they can no longer make their return on investment. And then your role as an architect starts to diminish, or your role as a specialist starts to diminish. Brian, how am I doing with time?
7 minutes to go.
7 minutes. Okay. All right. So that enabled me to determine projects in terms of investment decisions, land value. You see, as an architect, you're given, for example, 1 acre and you need to do a certain development, or a large size of acres and you need to do a certain development. But do you understand the land value? Do you understand how what it cost the client to acquire that piece of property? Because when you understand that, when you design something, you are able to know that I'm creating value for this client. You're able to show them that as much as you bought this piece of land for 100 million, if you put up this commercial property, we are able to sell it for, X amount per square meter. That creates value for your client. So for the students, architecture is evolving. It's not a straight ladder. Clients are looking for thinking partners. They are not really looking for, just give me a design. They want to see your thinking process. They want to see you understand value for money. And this will allow you, if you understand your value, you're able to defend your payment. Sometimes as architects, we take on projects and we rarely get paid because we are unable to articulate our value. So when you understand your value and your client is supposed to be paying you your 6%, they will pay you for your 6% because you're able to articulate it. And try and put your depending on the project, you need to analyze the scope in which you're able to do it, or to the point of, I'm going to the business side of things, to the point of getting paid. Because sometimes we take on large scopes of projects, and because we don't have a good enough system, we are caught in between projects that are long, and at the end of the day, you realize that you're losing money. Architects, we every time you go for a site meeting, every time you are called for a client meeting, that is your value you're providing, and you should be compensated for that. So the last point would be the truths for younger architects is that growth requires change. Throughout my journey, there's been challenges here and there. You have to, you have a family to build, you have a career that you're aspiring to, but listen to your voice. Architectural thinking gives you an edge anywhere in the world. Let nobody lie to you. You are taking a brave step, whichever direction you decide to go to, be it conventional or unconventional. As you can see, my path started conventionally. I'm heading towards the unconventional, but the foundation was my architecture. Yes. So finally, what good is a beautiful design if we cannot sell it, if we cannot rent it, if we cannot generate volume? We would not be creating value. Thank you for the opportunity. Brian, I can take it back on to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Wendy, for that insightful session. The transition from the conventional to the unconventional, I think, is a journey that many will have to walk eventually. Now, it just reminded me that the first job off I think I got after finishing school was to be technical sales for a furniture company. Yeah, that time I
How
was
did that
thinking, my
go?
new. I didn't take it. I was thinking me with my 6 years in architecture to go and sell furniture. But that's when I realized there's a lot of input you can put to those attendance spaces. So I will consider going there again.
You start to
Yeah,
respect every salesperson that you meet.
exactly, exactly. Thank you so much, Architect Wendy
Thank you.
Nelima, for that insightful contribution from Palm Goldings. Just stay online. At the end of this, we shall be taking questions, and some of them will be directed towards you.
Thank
For
you.
our next speaker, we have architect Linda Mate. Architect Linda Mate practices at the intersection of sustainability, architectural practice, and research, and affordability and innovation housing solutions. Currently serves as director at GGL, head of design construction Zima Homes, and is also an edge expert. So she's bringing recognized expertise in green building performance and certification. Um, at this time, we wish to hear from her story and her career life journey, how she has navigated the various hats that she wears to arrive at the seat where she now sits. So at this moment, join me in welcoming architect Linda Mate to speak to us. Welcome, architect.
Nice. Thank you so much, Brian. Thank you for having me this afternoon as well. It's a good platform, and I'm glad to be here to encourage both the students, graduate architects, and I believe we also have registered architects amongst ourselves. It's an honor to give my story and the current position I'm at in the industry. And yes, Wendy, your story is impressive. Um, it's more of conventional and unconventional at the same time. And the journey you've taken through it has inspired me as well. To add on to Wendy's insights, I would I would say my story starts at the University of Nairobi. Way back, I graduated in 2014, and my 6th year project is what really inspired me to take the path I'm currently taking, because my 6th year project was a desert resort in Chalbi Desert, and it kind of inspired me to do more and embrace, I would say, the conventional path more than conventional. Embrace working with the community, you know, more, and do research in terms of how to enhance the local way of building technology. And it has really influenced my path to the point where I am at the moment. So in 6th year, I designed Chalbi Desert, that's in North or Marsabit County. I designed a desert resort. I looked at ways, and when I went there for my research, I very fast noticed that the cultural way of building, what the traditional way of building, the vernacular architecture worked better than the modern architecture that had been imported, quote unquote, in that area. Because I got an opportunity to sleep in a vernacular architecture Manyatta home, and also the modernized hotels in the area. And the modernized hotel, they used a lot of air conditioning, and the vernacular architecture was simple technology methods, that construction methods that worked incredibly really well, and that really inspired me. They were simple in the sense that they could allow cross ventilation using light building materials. They dealt with the dust in the area. It's in a desert, so there are so many adversaries, from temperature, dust, too much light. We have animal crawling, and the vernacular architecture was performing incredibly really well, even in terms of the temperature we took, rather the temperature analysis over the 2 weeks I was there. And that pushed me to, even when I was designing my project, which methods can I employ, which local materials can I use from that area or in the areas around that place? How can I involve the community? Actually, they were willing to, advise on how things were done. Thermal regulation, thermal mass regulation. We have stones in the area. And even my design, I incorporated most of these building technology and materials, local materials in the area to come up with a design. And it was really beautiful. And I even did a scale 1-to-1 model of, an arc, using bricks, local technology, just to make sure that this worked and convince everyone else that it's possible. So from the University of Nairobi, I performed really well, and I joined my first firm I worked with was Planning Systems Limited. And I got a totally new world, which was opened to me. I got to work with incredibly talented people, architects, and projects ranged from small residential houses all the way to master planning, churches, malls. That gave me a lot of immense experience, because when you work on different scales, you get to appreciate different elements. A residential house, you need more details. You just don't look at the building itself. You zoom into even tile layouts. A master planning, you look at a larger scale. Same to a mall. There are all these things you look at, and the teams you work with. So at Planning Systems, I got to work with a lot of talented architects and different skills of projects. After that, I joined DLR Africa, and this opened another opportunity to learn how to work with international clients and projects, and how things can be done, are being done differently. Not just, so I wasn't just zooming into the local bit. I while working with the international architects, you get to learn how things are done with other architects and how you can employ them locally to make sure the projects run successfully. At the same time, within that period, I joined UNOPS. So I'm an employee at the United Nations Office of Projects Services, UNOPS, and that gave me another opportunity of working with locals. We work with communities all over Africa, and being the headquarters of Eastern Central Africa and Southern Africa, Kenya, we travel to different communities, Zambia, Sudan, even Afghanistan, and you see the adversaries in these areas and propose ways of, how they can build different architecture, different buildings, different projects. So I get to work with the community as well. And in that sense, UNOPS has opened another way of, as an architect, allowing me to look at embracing local materials, working with local communities, how people think, the technology, the culture. And every day as I work on different projects in different countries, I learn a lot in terms of just localizing the project and making them work. After DLR Africa, at UNOPS, I'm part-time, so as a retainer, I'm still there, and I've been working there for the last 4 years. So after DLR, I joined BuildX Studio, and when I joined BuildX Studio, it opened a world of possibilities, because BuildX is a design build company, and their main focus on was on sustainable architecture, embracing local materials and local technology. We did a lot of research, and we could do research, experiment in the office, go to site as contractors, do samples until we get it right. And that got me really excited. Actually, I've really learned a lot at BuildX, the period I was there. And that's what gave me the idea of starting Granex Group, which is a company. We also provide design and build services, and we embrace local materials as well and work with the community. I would go back to BuildX. At BuildX, I worked on different projects, which got me to exercise or even experiment further my belief in working with local materials, respecting the local climate, working with the community. I worked on several projects, and one of them is Zima Homes, as Brian has mentioned, and I'm still the head architect there. And at Zima Homes is an affordable housing project. And the main aim was to have an age-certified affordable housing project, which is dignified and provides the community better solutions in terms of climatic controlled project, which is affordable at the same time. So when we started building and designing and building Zima homes. We researched on natural ventilation. You know, it's an affordable housing scheme. So you look at the space, you look at the cost per unit, you look at the land area, because as much as it's affordable, you still need to make some profit as a developer. So cost is a big one, mentioning it's an affordable housing, but also we wanted it to be sustainable, affordable housing project. And that's why we went ahead and, you know, registered it for EDGE certification. And it's been certified for the first stage. We are after construction, we're in the second stage. We've already done our audits. We want to be certified after construction as well. So on this project, I learned the building materials and technology during design. What do you consider to ensure that the building is affordable and sustainable at the same time? And took it through to site during construction. What do you do to ensure that you still maintain the values, the proposals, the solutions you give during design? Because sometimes as architects, we tend to be very excited during design stage. And when we get to detailing, we kind of, some of us struggle. And when you go to construction, what you've detailed, if you have less details, you might not get what you wanted, or sometimes the contractor might fail you. So you need to be on point from design stage all the way to construction. I'll just give a brief high level opportunity, rather challenges and opportunities we faced at Zima Homes. First, the design stage, there was a lot of research, because we are looking at affordable materials, and the affordable materials need to be sustainable. In that case, less carbon emission. And the building technology also required us to ensure that we'll be EDGE certified when we start the application process. So there was a lot of research, talking to a lot of market suppliers, including, and we looked at compressed, the SSBs, the stabilized soil blocks. These are compressed bricks. We looked at the concrete blocks, concrete panels. We looked at the quarried materials, masonry stones, and we've tried as much as possible to use local materials, even for the ceiling, where we have the roofing sheets. The ceiling itself, it's a recycled ceiling material, you know. And so our aim was to use recycled materials, locally made materials. You can have the compressed bricks, ram dirt, sometimes bamboo if it's available, but we didn't use these two. We also used interlocking blocks for landscaping that has been proposed. And we have so many opportunities, especially locally, which we can all embrace. And yes, we have the Western architecture coming in, where you can have concrete and steel and glass kind of taking over. But locally, when you go to the villages, when you do affordable housing, what other materials can you embrace to make sure your building is sustainable? So we looked at all that, we researched and detailed the building to the standards we wanted. So currently the building, it's naturally ventilated. We have natural lighting. We have we have enough, I would say enough lighting, ventilation, and we also looked into the services. You know, when you work with Age and you're certified, you want to be certified, you need to save on water, energy, and the materials. So you look at 3 elements. So services fall, water and energy fall under services. We looked at when we specified the taps to be used, the showers to be used, we looked at low flow kind of taps. That's what we were selecting at the market. When you're flushing, how much water are you using? In terms of energy, we looked at motion censored lighting, you know, especially in the public areas. If there's no one, let the light go off automatically. So saving on light, saving on energy, and water as well was also another big item. Zima Homes is connected to solar. We've also embraced solar. So to ensure that, you know, you use less energy for heating, water heating, maybe while bathing, to save more energy. So such research and implementation in terms of specifying the building enabled us to get EDGE certification in the preliminary stage. During construction, I am still the head of design and contract administrator. So I also ensured that we were following what we had designed and specified, just to ensure that the building can still be EDGE certified. So in terms of ensuring this during construction, you get the right materials with the help of the structural civil engineers. You make sure the quality is right. On site, you're very keen on quality, and the beauty of working with local communities is you train them how things are done, how you'd want it to be done. As an architect, you don't want to see cement smeared on your stone everywhere. No, I want my stone to be clean. How can we do this? Can we use a road? And you're there working with the contractor and even the local community, just to show them how to best do that in terms of the building technology. And following up on each stage during construction really helped us and enabled us to kind of construct the building as envisioned. And then, so we've successfully handed over one block, and we're working on the second block, and I would say it's a successful project. The other project was in Kakamega. We did a memorial for an AAK fund, and the walls are dry stacked. We did a lot of research and then experimented the same in the office, took some fundis, we dry stacked the stones, no cement, no mortar. You're just looking at the pressure of how each stone falls on lays on the other, how to lay them, how to use smaller stones to fill in smaller holes so that we don't have any movements, how to orient each block at what point so that that particular pressure that is required from each stone is attained. And it was so beautiful because at the end of the day, we had a wall, no cement, no mortar, and you couldn't even move it. Like you hit it, nothing. And that's what we went to site with. Same team, which we enabled, and we built this memorial for an AAK fund with dry stacked stone. It's a traditional way of building, but it's very, very sustainable, low carbon emission because you have less cement and concrete. And then we used timber, which was locally available in Kakamega. The stones are locally available in Kakamega. And this was a pretty exciting project. and it's complete and it's very beautiful. So these are some of the projects I personally looked at. There are more Kilifi housing, and the journey of just experimenting how different materials perform and how you can employ this technology in your and provide solutions as an architect in your design is what really is exciting as I as I do my day-to-day you know duties as an architect to provide solution to the local community. So I would encourage us all to, as architects, even other consultants, to embrace the conventional way as well, even as we are embracing the Western and conventional way, and just provide simple, localized solutions and sustainable solutions to some of our communities, both urban and also back in the rural areas. I don't know, how am I doing with time, Brian?
4 minutes to go.
Yeah. So at the moment, we are also currently doing more research on, I would call them affordable, sustainable construction and technology, because what you are doing at the moment is that we are researching the value chain of these sustainable materials. Locally, yes, we have concrete panels. Yes, we have compressed bricks in the market, Makiga and the rest. Yes, we have the interlocking blocks. But we are researching to see why, with a very good team of being led by a colleague called Deta Madete, why are they not used as much? Where is the break in the value chain? Etta is an architect. She's learned a lot and she's leading the team on this. And we're trying to just to understand the product process and training. How does it go? How is it being done in Kenya? How can we ensure that most people back at home in the rural areas embrace these sustainable materials more, even in the urban areas? Because we are not saying that concrete is bad. We're not saying that quarried stone is bad. But when we look at these other solutions, which have proven that carbon emission can be reduced, why are we not embracing them more or further? So this is also a very interesting and exciting research which we are currently on, and we look forward to and see how we can improve the market, currently locally, to ensure that we embrace more of these sustainable materials. Yeah, thank you so much. I think that's it. I'll have you back. I'll take it back to Brian.
Thank you so much, Architect Linda Mate. It's interesting how the stories are beginning with a six-year thesis. I don't know how many of us, when we were doing our six-year thesis, we thought about, we asked ourselves whether that particular thesis can shape your career journey. I've gotten the privilege for the time I was in TUC to speak to students even after I left. And I think that's one thing that I've always thought about. You spend at least 6 years in school, depending on how good or bad the system is. And you've accumulated a lot of knowledge. But then when you come to the final year, why would you, after 6 years, just do a thesis for the sake of graduating? With all the information you have, why not do something that can actually shape the practice of architecture for you and for others? And so I'm so glad to see that both of our first two speakers had their careers, the seed for their careers planted by their final year thesis, and to see them reaping that in the years after. So thank you so much, actually, to Wendy and Linda so far. I am grateful for those who are already asking questions. I have seen a question from Lamek, particularly to Wendy, on balancing the business demands of commercial clients and professional standards. I've seen a question from Moshira Kariuki, particularly for Linda, on the Zima Homes project. And I think let's keep sending in the questions, let's keep sending in the engagement, even the commendations to the speakers so far. So we're now going to welcome our final speaker for this afternoon. Now, at the end of the day, as we desire to define niches and spaces for ourselves in the industry, that journey almost always begins with getting a Borax registration. And so we want to climax this mentorship series with the one question that is of significance to every student and graduate ultimately. Now, that's a question of how do we get registered? How do we move from graduation to registration? Right? Someone once told me that before the law, there's no difference between someone who has finished 60 and someone who dropped out of first year. I don't know if that's the case. But as a graduate, these are the questions you have when you're finishing school. How can I ensure I get the hours? How do I choose the right places to go and start my career at? What's the best way to start? To start in the field, inside, in a design practice, in a small firm, in a big firm, in public, in private practice. I do not know. And so at this moment, I want to invite our next speaker. His name is Architect Patrick Mugo Karugo. He's a highly respected figure in the architectural profession and is a key contributor to professional development in Kenya. He's currently the principal architect at Inter Architects, leading a diverse portfolio of projects with a commitment to design excellence. But he also serves as the CPD director at Forums, a role through which he has played in significant part in shaping continuous professional development standards for architects and graduate architects across the country. And his work in CPD has strengthened the culture of lifelong learning in that profession. He brings to us a wealth of experience, grounded insights into practice, and a deep understanding of what it takes to go in the architectural field. But before I welcome him, the particular reason why Patrick Karugo was particularly my invitation for this series is because actually Patrick Karugo also taught me in fifth year, and something stood out a lot from him, that in a profession where it is almost global practice to be tough and mean and sometimes dehumanizingly degrading. Today's architects have been quite kind and gentle. I'm surprised. Architect Karugo came across as very fatherly, and many of us in that particular class were inspired and motivated by his scripts during studio and his insights when he was teaching us architectural practice and management at UK. So at this moment, please join me in welcoming Architect Patrick Mugo Karugo to give us the final session, after which we'll have a Q&A session. Thank you. Karibu sana, Architect.
Right, thank you very much, and good evening, everyone. Am I clearly audible, Brian? So that
yes, you are.
Beautiful. It gives me a pleasure to make this town hall presentation, more so as the last speaker. And may I also commend the team that has been there before me, the two lady architects who have talked very inspiring stories about their life, about how they were shaped by the final project and what they are doing at the moment. As for me, I'm been in the practice for quite a while. I graduated from UON, I believe over 30 years ago, in 1993. I have a son, Patrice Mugo. I think he's also among you in this forum. He has done his professional exams this year. results are not yet out, is hopeful. My being with you at the moment is just to take you now through the journey of registration, because as Boyd has said, as the presenters have alluded, you've got to get registered, you've got to be on the roll of practitioners, call yourself an architect. Boyd has said one joke, let it not a joke that can come to you. There is no difference of somebody who has finished and obtained a Bachelor of Architecture degree if he never registered, and the person who even dropped at second year. They are all the same. And for you to get the title architecture, you basically need to be registered. So how do we get registered? Number one, registration process begin the day you graduate. The day you go to the graduation ground and you go home with your certificate, when the declaration is made that you've gotten the power, it ticks off from there, and your journey towards graduation starts. The profession of architecture, and Boyd, I wish this town hall was a combination of both architects and quantity surveyors, because what you realize is that architects cannot work in vacuum, neither can the QSs work in the vacuum of QS. The two are actually very much tied to one another, and I think in the long run, try to get to IQSK and we do it together. I was expecting this to be actually a physical session where we were to meet, but we didn't. So in the effect that we are to meet online, I decided to do something small just to share with you so that you can be able to see. And I think I'm sharing with you as a document there, which is a presentation. I hope it's visible to you. And Boyd, is it clearly visible?
Yes, it's visible.
Good. I'll just share a very short presentation about training and professional exam, because once you graduate, you start your journey. And this I've actually picked it from the CAP 525, which is what will be guiding you. The first thing you need to know is that for you to qualify to be registered, you need to be of age, 21 years. You also need to have covered at least 5 years of approved training. Before we had what you people are doing, the 2 tiers training, we used to have a 5-year program, which was also in 4 and 1 year. But over time, we've had what is called the Cabera Accord, and this has transformed to 2-tier system, whereby you have the first 4 years, then you do the second 2 years, you qualify. So you need a minimum of 5 years, and it's good. I don't know whether among the people who have joined here, we have some who have done foreign degrees, especially from the Middle East, where they have a Bachelor of Architecture degree with 3 years. When they come back here, then they have a problem because they don't meet this minimum requirement of 5 years. It's advisable if you are in such a country, you actually go ahead and do a master's in architecture so that you have 5 years covered. You also need to have done what we call the 24 months postgraduate practical experience. This is where you graduate and then you get attached to a registered practitioner who has been out for at least 2 years after he got registered. Boyd got registered over, I think, 2 years ago, and next year now he should also be able to mentor a candidate for registration. So it's good also when you're out, the person who mentors you, try and check if he's been out post registration for at least 2 years. Easy. You can always get this information from the website of Borax. And also you can ask from AAK, because I know most of you are members of AAK. It's good to join AAK as a forum of linkage, especially with professional bodies, is good. Then, of course, after the 24 months, you sit for the exam and get now registered. I think in the process, of course, of you're running the 24 years, Boyd has told you I'm the CPD director. It will be good you'll be attending forums like what you're having this town hall. This is a CPD event. In fact, if there are some professionals registered, like Wendy and Linda, this session, I'm the one who will allocate points. Go ahead. I think I had already allocated the points to this. Apply, and you'll get points for yourself. So attend seminars, attend workshops, lectures, conferences, colloquiums, industrial visits, visit construction sites, and also the study tours so that you continue sharpening yourselves on matters of the profession. But there are two documents that are very, very important in your journey as an architect, as a graduate architect, or even now your colleagues, the quantity surveyors. There's this document we call Architect's Manual. It's available from Borax, but Brian Boyd and his colleagues had an advantage of getting a soft copy from me since I was involved in its development. But this book is a very important book for you, not just for the journey of passing the exam, but also for your practice. Because it brings down the issues of practice to very down level of understanding. It breaks down the various aspects, the pre-contract, the post-contract issues, matters of contract management, such that once you have it, it's like the Bible of the practice. You may be very creative and you'll be going for all those alternative methods of construction, innovation. We are from smart cities, we have intellectual city. Now we are in the bureaucratic cities. But at the end of it, there is a way to do it, and the manual gives you that. Remember, we are also in the era of AI, and that means we are going beyond even what can be achieved. So the other day, Tesla now has a seamless card. I think we are going to expect more in the practice, but there are some basics that are important, and we can only learn them if we are involved. For example, we're going through this very important book, Architect's Manual. So as soon as you graduate, try and get one. This one goes now to the people who will be mentoring you. Once you go to the practice, you'll be working under a registered person. And we always try to involve them. Why I'm bringing this to you so that you know. It's good you tell your mentor to involve you matters of site separation and management issues. So these are the things that form the professional exam. Ask them to do in areas that have been outlined in the manual. So if you didn't have the manual, definitely you have no idea of the areas you need to get exposed to. And then, of course, let them, most of them you'll find they'll tell you to go to the desk, do details, and all that. Be soft to them and tell them to also expose you to sketching so that you don't over-rely so much on CAD. I think Brian can inform you that even in class, I used to discourage them about so much over-reliance on the CAD because it reduces your creativity in one way or another. Of course, it's better you understand the detail drawing and building documents. It's a matter of fairness to the people you're working with, the contractor, the client. And you've also heard about working cross-border. Wendy went all the way to South Africa. She came back with knowledge, and that she has already tried to use it in whatever she's doing today. Contract management. At the end of the day, all these lines we do, all these documents we do, they are all exposed to contract management. It's good you learn how to manage your contract Otherwise, you'll be very broke from claims, from suits, if you poorly manage a contract. And of course, at the end of the day, build up your courage, your confidence to present. Linda has alluded that your fees is actually pegged in one way how you convince your clients. And it all comes to their confidence, how you do your presentation. And presentation is not just the right one. Your personal grooming, personal way of doing things. There are some programs you can learn. For example, we have what we call the Toastmasters. You can learn about how to speak with confidence. There is Special Kuche. You can learn how to speak with confidence. And those are some of the nuggets that you need to expose yourself to so that you are able to bring out a properly molded architect. This profession, as you say, is actually a profession that it's supposed to open you to many other things. Now, your recognition of what you have done is usually through a logbook. And I think the generation that you are coming, you are now going to be using what we call an online logbook. Let us start acquainting yourself with the process. It's free to enroll on the Borax website. Just go to it as you near your graduation, enroll into it, and started using this in the year 2023. And it is actually a model which has a candidate model, it has a supervisor model, and it also has a Borax model. We are improving it now and then, but you'll always be having an online way of doing things. Now, I think this is basically something to do with the examination steps. The first one is, of course, the first one is to pass your university exam. That is the beginning of it. Then go to the 24 months experience, and you have your logbook well filled and signed. And the exam itself is normally in three papers. It has paper one, which is written, paper two, which is also written, and then it has an oral exam. I'll share with you in part of my presentation the syllabus. Then, of course, there are many thoughts of the future that is going. Just like we have the AI, we also have features that are coming. For example, getting feedback, doing what we call mock exams, practical and virtual training and seminars, which are done by the board. So I think basically, I just want to note that the numbers are increasing. And as the numbers increase, the board also has to be up to the task. It has to keep on improving the exam process. It has also to keep up adapting to new technology so that at the end of the day, despite the economic challenges, we are able to partake and to have professionals registered. The only worrying thing that we are having is that the number of architects registering for exams is dwindling down. Like this year, we are having quantity surveyors being about 26% more than architects. Yet, we have, I think, five or six schools of architecture, and quantity surveyors, we only have 3. Where are our numbers going? Are we losing interest in the profession? We shouldn't. Even if you are going to be a developer, even if you are going to be a software engineer, an online marketer, name them. Ensure you earn yourself the title architect. There was no point of you being in school for that long and then you don't register as an architect. And I want to share something else in terms of the syllabus so that you can have a clear look of exactly what we normally, the syllabus is always about. And generally, the syllabus has covers items. These are the areas of practice that I want to outline to you. The paper one covers what we call professional practice and procedures. And this is basically, actually, if you look at it, Paper one is actually what you run in most of every. Those of you who are in fifth year, there's that unit we call professional practice management. It covers the procedures, it covers the enumeration, organization, design team, construction team, contract administration, the legal aspect, how to resolve disputes, and even tendering and procurement. Paper one is basically 50-year work. Don't discard your notes. And when we come to paper two, you'll find most of this is what you try to outright in your sixth year thesis, and also to apply to the other years that you have been having. For example, economic factor, you heard about the child B design, how it adapted to issues that are on the ground. Of course, that's now anchored on cost control. Then we have how you measure things, how you specify. Unfortunately, as architects, we have delegated the mandate of specification to the quantity surveyors. We need to remove that laziness. We are the owners of the project, and we should be able to specify good work, schematic design. And actually, paper two is one of the toughest paper because you actually come to do the real design in an exam room and within a span of 4 hours. Then, of course, now when you go to the oral, this is where you meet a panel of examiners and you are able to discuss with them matters one-on-one on your experience. You discuss project management, you discuss contract administration, environment bylaws. You need to know how plans are approved and how environmental issues are handled, and general project documentation. What documents do you need? The contract, the bill of quantities, the variation order, so many things. So in essence, what I'm saying, as you vacate the university, there are many things that you need to know, and one of them being you need to understand who your trainer will be. You need to have a trainer who is hands-on, who is giving you the needed attention, in the sense that he doesn't just leave you alone. Now, when you be coming for the oral exams, there are a few things, and why I'm sharing with this is because when you go out of the university, it's good you start organizing yourself early enough. You need to be preparing any project you get involved in, file it properly so that you are able to document it well, describe it, location, the client, the cost, all those details, and take photos. Then try to arrange your drawings as per the regulations. If you're in fifth year, you have covered CAP 525, and it has shown you the stages of designs, which outline proposal, scheme design, detail design, and going to site. Then you must also, of course, do good practice. Even in your studio, we always specify the size of paper. In this case, for the orals, we specify size A3. You need to have permission from the person who is training you for that. Then in terms of management, contract management, understand about architect certificate and final certificate and practical completion, the defects, issues, among many others. Writing is important. Learn how to do site maintenance, learn how to prepare a fee note, and at the end of the day, any information you provide is very, very beneficial. So that is basically some of the issues that I thought I should share with you in terms of notes, and this I will give to Boyd. He will be able to share with you in advance. But the bottom line is, I can see we are sixth here. How prepared are we to tackle the profession? The mindset is very, very important. Get into the world knowing that there are challenges, but also get into the world as a conqueror. We still have a lot of opportunities in this country. Our ratios are far low. We cry yes of the economy, but we are the same people who are supposed to turn around this economy and make it beneficial to us. We don't have to go the very, very formal way, concrete and brick and mortar. There are many ways we can handle this profession. There are also other areas you can actually play a big role still as an architect. So as you journey towards the registration path, I don't want to digress away from the mandate I was given. The jurisdiction I have is just about training and examination, but I feel I'm obliged to encourage you. I've talked about less number of architects getting registered. That basically tells you architects are losing interest in registration. But I want to encourage you, don't go that route. Work hard. You are the top cream of the society. You look at the cluster's points of joining, the architecture points was way higher than the others. So why should we be left behind? Brian, I want to edit at that in the interest of time so that we can move to the next session of the program. Thank you very much, all of you. Nice to have you this session.
Thank you so much, Architect Mugo Karugo. That has been very insightful, particularly for us who are just starting out, and for the students who are in school, that they do not feel that once they finish school, they can throw away the notes. Clearly, they will meet another panel who will still need the same content. So thank you. And thank you, Lynn. You have been uploading every speaker at their conclusion. So we really appreciate this presentation. So I think right away we'll go to the question and answer session. But maybe just before we do that, all the members in attendance, there is a emoji button on your screen. You can just give our speakers a virtual round of applause for the very informative presentation that they have given to us. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And with that, we will take a few questions. I'll begin with a question by Lamek, which is, I believe, directed towards Wendy. Wendy, kindly touch on balancing the business demand of commercial clients, particularly real estate developers and professional standards. I think this has been a thorn in the flesh, particularly of late in our industry, where real estate developers are in the goal to maximize profits. Sometimes either compromise on quality of space or quality of materials and the likes. So how do you now, as one who is on the other side, but also as an architect, how do you balance those needs?
Okay, thank you, Lamek, for that question. Thank you, Brian, for articulating it. For me, it's a lot to do with clarity, confidence, and consistency. When you're dealing with a client, you need to set your expectations early and clearly. That's why the AAK has come up with, the percentage which architects are supposed to be paid. I believe it's 6%, or is it 10? And they have various stages from concept, scheme design, development design, up until the close of a project. So when you set your expectations early, where you're saying for concept design is going to take this length of time, and this is even try and quantify what it's going to cost in that regard, the client is able to know that you understand what you're talking about because you're able to articulate it, and you're also able to manage your risk as an architect, whereby yes, the percentage from which you're being paid is based on the project value, which is the 6% of maybe 100 million project. But you're able to break down the process in bits for a client, because you have to understand that clients did not study the 6 years of architecture school. So what seems easy to you is not as simple as it seems. So you have to learn the art of conversation, telling the client, okay, you want this project tomorrow. Do you know what it means to, you're not saying no, but you're respectfully taking them through the process. And also understanding, translating your standards into business value. Developers respond to return on investment. So it's important for you as an architect to show that what good standards take at the end of the day will be a better return on investment. So somebody wants to do maybe many bed sitters in a place that is not well ventilated, and at the end of the day, that project will not be approved by City Council. So the developer will not make a return on his investments. So you have to clearly translate why your standards as an architect will translate to business value, and also use data. Data will always support your position as an architect. That's why we do site analysis, market analysis, valuations with QSs. So you're able to tell your client that this is the data regarding your project. And this is why I am requesting to be paid a value of this nature, because it's proven facts. Okay. And as Architect Patrick has said, document everything. Have minutes, have a contract. Don't walk into a client's meeting if you're serious about taking the project and not have a contract, because that is what protects you. That is what, at the end of the day, if the relationship between you and the developer doesn't work out, you're able to pull this document and say, remember, we had this conversation. You said you wanted 20 or 50 units, and I delivered 50 units. And this is what we agreed on with regards to mode of payment. So hold your ethical lines, and it's difficult to not try and compromise. But when you're systematic, when you know what you're talking about, people will pay for value. And don't be afraid to walk away from something that is not based on your ethical standards, even if you know you really want the project. Clients will always come back around to people of value. I think that's it from my end regarding that question. I hope I have answered you, Lamek.
Thanks so much, Wendy. That has been quite extensive. So design workflows and systems, communicate business value, use data, document everything, always have a contract, and above all, have your own ethics. Walk away if it's not right. Awesome, good. The next question, I believe this is going to Architect Linda. Is the Zima Homes project located in Wangige next to the highway? And if yes, how did you handle the issue of noise? This comes from Ashira Karuki.
Yes, thank you, Ashira, for the question. That's a very interesting and it's a good question. So Zima Homes is right next to the Western Bypass. The site location processes which we normally have kind of led us to that area because of we're looking mostly at accessibility. But noise is an issue, you're right, which kind of normally affects projects negatively. So at Zima Homes, I would say it being an affordable housing project, we didn't go all the way to deal with noise, still have window sealants, ensure we have rubbers have double glazed. All these are quite expensive solutions, but it's possible to cut off all the noise. But what we did is we just employed simple solutions which reduced noise. I would say it's a minimal reduction, but a few decibels will, at the end of the day, are cut. So some of these solutions which we used were, it's a green, literally a green architecture project. So we have wall creepers, we are planting trees, hoping that all this vegetation will help in cutting noise at the end of the day, especially for the lower units. And then we have sun shading elements, which come right on top of, which come after the windows, mostly the windows facing this, because this road is western facing. So we also hope that these sun shading elements, at the end of the day, will help with noise reduction after they've been put up. The other solution we provided for noise absorption and reduction was the, I would say, window to wall ratio. We also for age certification, this ratio had to be right. So we reduced the glass window coverage on along these facades, and provided more of walling, masonry walling. Masonry is much better. It cuts off, it has, I think, 50 decibels. It cuts off noise much better than glass. So those are just a few solutions we kind of employed, or rather used in the project to reduce on noise. But again, being an affordable housing project, we couldn't go all the way and have double glazing, and even have sealants. It was quite expensive. Yeah, so we hope the few solutions we provided will help. But this is mainly the main block. The other two blocks are kind of, there's a buffer, noise buffer by this main block. So the other two blocks, I would say, are better placed. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Linda. That was quite an off-the-fly studio question. Yeah. But I think it has been well handled. And it's just beautiful to see that some of these concepts which we learned theoretically in school are actually being deployed in practice out there. I think not every young architect gets the privilege to work in a practice where these concepts are actually key. I happen to have the privilege of working in a place where, when Wendy is speaking about design workflows, all our projects are on RIBA workflow. Sustainability is key, edge certification is key, but for many small practices, these are not key. So I think to just see that even affordable housing practices are going out of their way to implement these things, it's something which I think we as young architects can pick up as we build our profession. So thank you for that response. I will go to a question for Architect Patrick. Now, Karugo's questions are quite the difficult ones. Let me start with the easier one. Architect Patrick, how do we log in projects onto the Borax portal if they were done before the launch of the online system? I think this is in the light of the fact that the portal says that projects should not be logged in when they are older than 3 months from the time of logging in, but you can, I think, address that question.
Thank you, Boyd. I can see there's a question from Fidel about how do we log in projects with the Borax work we have done before the launch. First of all, is Fidel a student or is he somebody who graduated those years? If he is a student, then he cannot even register those because they have to have been done under the supervision of a registered person. If he's been out, ask him to come and see me. I'll guide him more on that. But generally, the system, the way it's designed, the online, is such that within 3 months, it's supposed to lock down. So it's supposed to be very current. As you work, you log in. As you work, you log in. That is how it's supposed to be. Very, very current. Okay, so I think that answers Fidel. If he is one who graduated and has been out for those years, he can talk to me, then I'll guide him.
Thank you so much, Karugo. Fidel, Borax doors are always open to support us. But to note is that all projects must have been done post-graduation, I believe. You can't log in projects done before graduation as well. Next question, this one goes to Architect Linda. As a young professional, what platforms or strategies can one employ to follow in the path of sustainability? How can one get into these spaces to aid in research and development of sustainable local design and building practices, especially when you work for a firm that has not really embraced sustainability? That's a question from Zedekia Onena. I think, Linda, just how do you embrace this?
Thank you for the question, Zedekia. That's interesting. I mean, I would wish most firms, or rather all firms, should embrace sustainability. Though it's a it's a decision made under a firm's mission and vision, I would say. But if you're in such a space, I would advise that you, from my experience and looking at my journey, I would say mostly the firms I've had have been kind of were really keen on sustainability. So if you're in a space where you think they don't embrace sustainability, why can't you be the champion, you know? And this, it doesn't need to be big solution or technology construction technology solutions. You can start with small details, you know. If you've been asked to detail a residential house, can you come up with a small solution that embraces sustainability and be part and present it as part of the design team, you know? I would encourage you that to be bold and to be bold to present sustainable solutions to such a team. So that would be one way of approaching it. In terms of platforms, we have different organizations. I would encourage you to join or rather to try the certification opportunities around. You can be an age expert. We have you can take the course, it's online, and take the exam. You can be a lead expert. You can join KGBS. This is Kenya Green Building Society. And we, in such spaces or platforms, you tend to meet other architects with, I'd say, like-minded way of doing things and learn more from them. So, you know, don't tie yourself to just that particular firm. Go out and work with other people in these different platforms. The other thing, in terms of research and development, we have architects nowadays collaborating. If you have a colleague in another firm which embraces research and development, you can collaborate with them. And as architect Mugo mentioned, going out networking, going to CPDs can help you also meet or be part of these firms or even certification opportunities. Meet these people and know how to scale. You know how the next step you'd make to be part of this sustainable journey. Yeah, I'll just say be bold. And I'll give a good example of Francis Kerry. When after his studies in Germany, he wanted to help the society back in Burkina Faso. He didn't know what to do, but he fundraised, and the small amount of money he got, that's what started his first project, Gando. And that's, he took an opportunity to showcase, you know, the possibilities of using local materials, local technologies within that particular society. And that gave him an edge. So being bold also helps. In your farm, you can start small and just be bold in the sustainability journey. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks so much. That's insightful. The rise of champions. In whatever space you are, big or small firm, be a champion. I've seen in some of these firms, young guys go in and become the AI champion, trying to integrate AI tools into the workflows. Guys get into BIM and become BIM champions in conventional practices. It's the same thing, sustainability as Nida's advising. So may this mentorship be the beginning of the rise of champions in various spaces, and the goal and the use of research and experimentation in the journey. Next question, I think this one I will give it to, there's a question for Wendy. This is also from Zedekiah Onena. Wendy, would you say that the fact the government affordable housing program pays a lesser percentage fee for both design and supervision to all the consultants despite what is stipulated by the law, restates the value of professionals in our industry? And would this have a negative or positive effect in the long run for the professionals? Quite a loaded question. I don't know if Wendy might want to touch on this one.
Okay, thank you for that question. I think governments generally they're not usually based on judgment of the value of the profession as such, but rather as function of how these projects are financed. So government projects are heavily relying on how are these projects being financed? And then as an architect, you start to realize you're really just a small part of the bigger public-private partnership. So the government at this point is working with, the World Bank, the development banks, together with, your QSs, your engineers, an architect, and other professionals to ensure that these affordable housing projects come to fruition. So they're really looking at delivering high number of units within limited funds, and often they would want to cap the our professional fees, so that some of those funds go towards construction. So in this manner, they would probably put a certain percentage because maybe the design is repetitive, having worked on some government projects with regards to schools. And imagine you're expanding 60 schools across counties. The design is the same, sort of. The design is standard. When I say standard is maybe the number of students will not be above 40, because these are standards that are set by the Ministry of Education or the Ministry of Housing. So as an architect, in that sense, you're coming as almost like planning this standard document and also supervising this project. So you need to look at it in terms of a ratio. Are you willing to be paid based on scale, or are you rather more a niche type of architect where I'd rather work on my one detailed residential building and be paid full fees? Either way, it's up to you as an architect, because the design is repeatable, but also complex in the sense that if a specification is changed for one housing project, it affects the entire funding of the housing scheme. So that's how the government looks at it. As an architect, if you decide that you're changing from ceramic tiles to maybe porcelain, because porcelain is more durable, you have to understand that it's a cost implication to the entire financing. So the World Bank has a budget, the government has a budget, and you unfortunately have to, abide by those constraints, because they're trying to create impact to the community. So I think it's not really about devaluing the profession. It's really based on outcomes. So if you as an architect, that's not you're really not interested in minimizing your fees because you feel you are at the point where you want to earn more, then probably be more inclined on the detailed project, and don't assume that scale when you scale a project that essentially you will lower your fees. It's just the government, that's how the government works. But when you're dealing with other clients, they might be willing to pay you more because now you're doing things at a larger scale. I hope that answers your question.
Thanks, Wendy. I think that's quite a balanced response. Projects are not always about simply quality and profession. Sometimes, especially in government, there is policy, There is budget economics and statements in the fine print on the contracts. So thank you. I know it has caused many some jittery concerning the future of the industry and how the government is leading it, but I think that is quite insightful. So I think I think this is the final question to architect Patrick Karugo. This comes from Rachel Thura. I love this question already. Architect Patrick, registration and post-practice is the biggest dissuading factor as a young architect. The costs, especially tied to the title architect, are too high and thus doesn't encourage graduates to translate. Yearly cost of 50K plus to continue practicing is quite challenging, considering economic factors and basic living and job conditions. The board needs to relook at what they are charging versus what's offered. Doctors, lawyers don't have such high fees and can be seen with translation from graduates to registered persons. It's quite a fact with many issues.
Thank you.
Chris can respond.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Rachel, thank you so much. Number one, let's all agree, anything we do has a cost to it. Fees is a cost which the client paid you for your efforts as an architect. First, the figure you've talked of 50, I don't know where you've gotten it from. I'm sure Brian is a registered architect, and the annual fee for an architect is 7,500, and for a firm, of course, more because the expectation. But the point I want to bring is, let us look at things positively. A glass of water, look at it, is it half full or half empty? Be positive, and let's plan. And even let's assume it's 50K. To get registered, you need 24 months. If you saved 1,000 every month, you still have achieved 50K. It's good we unpack ourselves and face things in the best way, but maybe it's good I explain about the matters of registration. Currently, the application fee for the examination is 35,000 for new candidates. Pay one paper and you receive, you apply at 3,000. If you go and check other professional bodies, how they charge for registration, you'll be surprised. Borax is one of the cheapest. Go even to CPDs. The Borax CPD for candidates is 15,000. For engineers, if you go, it's 30,000. I wouldn't say Borax rates are punitive. All I would encourage us is to plan. This is a government body, and as the architect Linda has just put it, some of these roles are actually governed. The regulator versus who are the ministry. But if we are proactive, if we go out and sell our agenda, especially the agenda that our fees is guided by CAR 525, our efforts are under the law, then we stop also undercutting our fellow professionals, because that is what has been happening. You'll see change. And you'll even notice that this 50K is peanuts towards the much money that you are thinking you're paying. So the point is, let's plan, let's be proactive, and let's guard our profession. When you're out, be the gatekeeper. Ensure things are done in the right way, and you will not be in that bad wagon of there's no money. There's a lot of money in architects. You go to your village and say you are broke. People in Rwanda, they know architects are the guys who are richest. So let's not complain. Let's embrace the situation and we plan around it. Thank you. And that is how I also used to work with my students, Kinaboy, trying to encourage them not to see the half empty, but to see the half full. Make the full, that remaining part full, and you'll be happy. And that's why you can see Boit is a very vibrant person in front of us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Architect Caruso. And with that, we conclude the responses. I saw there was one which was to everyone. So I invite all the three speakers in a minute to do their closing remarks. But in your closing remarks, include a response to Alex W., who asks, post-graduation, how do you decide which opportunities grow your value versus those that simply use your time? So as you do our closing remarks in a minute or two, Architect Wendy, Architect Linda, and Architect Patrick in that order, include that as you do your final advice to the team here.
Okay, thank you, Brian, once again. I think my closing message would be allow yourself to grow, allow yourself to redefine your path. Don't be too caught up on the initial funds that you have to put in as an architect. I think it's worse when you're internationally practicing. But look at the bigger outcome on what it will allow you to do in the future, in the opportunities that it will enable you to lead and create impact. With regards to, so honor your calling as you go along in this profession. With regards to the question that's been asked regarding the opportunities, which opportunities should I lean towards, of whether it's of value? Earlier on, do everything. Be present in most opportunities in your firm, be in the rendering department, be on site. Just be a sponge in the beginning, because later on you'll now start to realize what is able to build you. So how you determine your value is, does it build me? Does it stretch my thinking? Because eventually, if it does, it will pay you. Thank you, everyone, for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Architect Wendy. Linda?
Thank you, Brian, and everyone. My closing remarks would be, as I had alluded earlier, just be the champion. Be the champion where you are, especially if you believe in sustainable architecture. And even in the modern age, you can still practice there. We have technology. Technology has enhanced. We have better solutions. In whichever circle you're in, firm you're in, be bold, provide solutions, and be the champion in this in your spaces where you work, or even at school. Be the champion in the spaces you are at currently. The question that was asked pertaining by Alex, pertaining post-graduation, I think I support what Wendy has said. You need first to learn. Post-graduation, the first place you go to, it can be a firm. You can start. You can work with a construction company or a firm. Just learn. Some of us started by doing window schedules and door schedules only for the first few months. Learn as much as you can, and then zoom in to what you would like to pursue. Case in point, myself, I worked at planning, so many projects, DLR, international architects. By the time I got where I am and decided I want to take this path, I had already done so much. And this will also help you in your projects, in whichever path you decide to take. So I wouldn't say there's one with opportunities and the other one without. I think all of them have opportunities. It depends on how you embrace it and where your passion lies. So follow your passion as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Follow your passion. And finally, Architect Patrick Mugo Karugo.
Okay, thank you. First of all, let me recognize and accolade Wendy and Linda for the beautiful mentorship. Alex, I know your question, you have asked this actually on behalf of, I believe, the 53 or so participants who are currently on the floor. But the point is, if you go and drive and you get a puncture and you have to change that tire, you realize how difficult it is. It's not that easy. There are so many issues involved. Similarly, in choosing your line, in choosing your passion, dive to the profession. I've showed you a long syllabus, paper 1, paper 2, orals. Know all those things. And as you learn them, you develop a passion. Then you start focusing and zooming on that. And that's how you now start identifying your value. In my career path, I didn't tell you, I started as an architect. Along the way, I developed a passion for environment, which I took up and started another line of being a professional as a lead expert in NEMA. To a point, even going to teach at the university, I did not go to teach because the architect. I went because I was among the first people who pursued higher levels of environment. That passion has now taken me to another level. Now I'm in administration. If I never dived into all this, I would not have seen what pertains to me. Linda and Wendy have gone into real estate. They sieved their way of life and they were able to identify their comfort zone. That's all you need. Develop a compassionate comfort zone, work on it, and have a plan. Because a plan is very, very important. Always have a plan in life and some predetermined goals so that even if you don't achieve them, you'll be slightly short of, and you can always now leverage on something to achieve to that. Otherwise, there's a very healthy discussion and it should be escalated once in a while. We have a repeat of this so that we can also be able to mentor on our other areas of expertise and knowledge. Thank you so much, the conveners, and may you all be blessed. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. There we have it from our 3 architects and speakers today. I also wish to join the 3 of them in expressing gratitude. We'd like to express our sincere appreciation to Architect Wendy, Architect Linda Mate, and Architect Patrick Mugo for the depth, the clarity, and the generosity that they have brought to today's conversation. Your insights have been incredibly valuable to our students and the graduate architects in attendance, and I believe anyone else who may have joined by invitation. And we truly appreciate the time and the thought that you have invested in this session. This was our 3rd session. I would also wish to appreciate in absentia Architect Gurmukh Singh Panesa and Architect Duncan Odhiambo, who contributed significantly to sessions 2 and 1 respectively, even though they can't be with us today. Their earlier input has played an important role in shaping this entire mentorship series. And to each one of you, thank you for helping us to create a meaningful and inspiring learning experience. This has been really insightful, gives us a window into what the industry looks like and the present and the future of practice. So thank you so much. We can sufficiently express our gratitude. At this moment, I would wish to also acknowledge the presence of the AAK leadership with us. They have been heavily instrumental in making these sessions happen and a success under the leadership of Architect Arabu George at the lead of the larger mother AAK, and under the leadership of architect Jackie Kairu, who is the AAK Architects Chapter Chair. Their wisdom and their support has been very, very instrumental. And the rest of the leadership as well are here with us. Thank you so much for the support you've given to the graduate representative team and the student representative team in doing this. So at this moment, I would wish to invite, on behalf of the AAK leadership, Architect Yasin Munyanya, who is our AAK treasurer, to give a few remarks and before we close. So Architect Yasin, over to you. Welcome.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much, Brian Boyd, for having run this show, to be honest, from the first day. And of course, with the leadership of the chapter. But before we even get to the leadership, these are the people who've actually made this mentorship what it is. Yeah. There we have Architect Wendy from Palm Golding. Your journey has been inspirational, not just taking the conventional path, and that is honestly something quite commendable. Architect Matthew, with your experience with UNOPS and the United Nations as well, working with communities that are underprivileged, if I may say, that is also quite commendable. And Architect Mugo as well from Borax. So we really appreciate your insights have really been more like gems of gold, if I may put it that way. And of course, as you've put it, Boyd, Architect Gurmuk and Architect Odhiambo have really been handy. But then again, I'd like to leave everyone with one thing today. Is there's one quote that I normally love. It's normally The Man in the Arena by Theodore Roosevelt. So I won't say the whole of it. But at the end of the day, I know we have an industry that is not really where it's supposed to be. We have an industry that is not really getting the privilege and grace it deserves. So what Theodore Roosevelt said in the Man in the Arena was simply, it is not the critic who counts, yeah, but it is the person. The main message, it is the person who can actually have the audacity, who can actually have the courage to take the unconventional path and actually create opportunities for other people, for themselves, and whatnot. So the only challenge I'm giving to everyone here is, in your own little way, in your own little world, let's have the butterfly effect. How can you help your industry, and how can your industry help you in return? The only way your industry will be able to help you in return is if you can be able to have your small input, big input, wherever you may be. You may not really be in a position of power, in a position of privilege, but at the end of the day, what really happens is the little input that we'll be able to have into our industry will really help us push on going forward. So let's be there for each other. We are here as AAK to continue mentoring the rest. And the only challenge I'll give to the moderators, the presenters, if you may, Architect Amati, Architect Nelima, and Architect Mugo, if all of you can just mentor at least one person, that would actually be something that would be quite commendable. And I believe that would actually be something that would actually be, as we say in Kenya, kusema na kutenda. It was a whole mentorship session. So you can be able to mentor a few students. And the one is just a suggestion, yeah? So at least one, we as AAK would be grateful. Asanteni sana, and we remain here for future mentorship and consultation as well. Asante.
Thank you so much, Architect Yasin. Each one mentor one, we will go far. So thank you for your remarks and for the continued support from AAK leadership, all the way from the AAK to AAK Architects chapter, and also to my co-graduate rep, Greg, who also helped me to really plan this. So as we close, I want to leave us with a thought. A profession grows when its people choose to grow. And over the past 3 weeks, you've shown up. All of you guys, you've asked questions, you've sought guidance, and you've leaned into the unknown. And I think this is how architects are shaped, not only by training, but by curiosity, by courage, and as you said, by community. So to the students and graduate architects in attendance, your career is not a path that you stumble into. It's a path that you build brick by brick, decision by decision, and mentor by mentor, as you've seen here. So keep showing up, keep learning, keep asking better questions, because the future of our profession belongs to those who ultimately prepare for it. And to our 3 speakers in attendance and 2 speakers in absentia, and everyone who contributed to this series, to the AAK leadership, to the secretariat, who have helped us with all the technical support, with all the recording and live streaming, to all the volunteers who brought in their thoughts, their advice, their input, to all the AAK members who, by their financial support and their moral support, keep the wheels of this organization turning, to even friends of AAK and partners of AAK who support these initiatives, to other players in the industry. Kenya Green Building Society has been mentioned here, and the other bodies and associations who we together work to mentor the next generation. You've given more than just information and support. You've given direction, you've given encouragement, and you've given possibility. So thank you all for being part of this journey. May you continue to grow, and may your growth lift the profession with you. At this moment, I wish to say, have a wonderful evening and keep building intentionally, keep building purposefully, keep building boldly. From AK to all of you, all the best in your profession. Have a lovely evening and goodbye.